Hello everybody, this is the fourth and final part of this Philips 90RL050. It is upside down, but I have some groundbreaking news. I have found a shorted capacitor. Now I've replaced it with this tantalum capacitor. I can't remember, I don't know exactly if it's a mylar capacitor. Story of my life. So it was a 20 nanofarad ceramic disc capacitor, and it was shorted, and I replaced it with a 10 nanofarad capacitor. Now we have the RF amplifier for the FM. We have the mixer oscillator transistor, and these are the IO stages, but really enough, there's only two tunable coils over here, but this is what is doing the amplification. This is the ratio detector over here. But so I replaced that capacitor, and now FM was dead to begin with. The voltages were really off on this transistor right here, but not too badly over here. And now when I replaced that capacitor, the voltages on this transistor actually appear to be much better now. And then I finally replaced this electrolytic over here. No, this one. Because I replaced all the other electrolytics, but except this one in the ratio detector, so I finally got around to replacing that. It wasn't too bad. It's supposed to be a 10 microfarad, but it measured 17 microfarads, but it did have about 5 mega ohms of resistance on the original capacitor. And this new capacitor is 11 microfarads with open 0 resistance, so that's what you would want in an electrolytic capacitor. Now, what else was it that I found? Oh yeah, so ever since I've done this, FM was dead, and when I replaced that capacitor, I started actually, for the first time, getting some life through FM now. It started picking up the station, only a very powerful one. The other stations sounded very distant. And then I made a really groundbreaking discovery. I put one of the transistors in wrong. Yeah. So I found a better schematic. Now it shows me the voltages across like a lot of the components. It's like, hey, you know, you want test points? How about everything as a test point? So it shows the voltages just across almost every component. It's a very good schematic. So I'm probing around, and I was hooking up the multimeter wrong. How the schematic wanted me to do it. It wanted me to put the negative probe on the main positive. This right here is basically your main positive along the battery. So you connect it to this metal tab here. That's actually the main positive. And then you use your red lead, your positive lead, to probe around on the pins, which will get you a negative voltage. That's what the schematic wanted it, so I just measured it that way. And I noticed that I had some voltages really off on this transistor right here. So this pin right here is the base. That's actually hooked up correctly. The middle pin, by the way, this is the KSP10 transistor. The middle pin is the emitter, and the third one on the right is the collector. Well, it turns out I have the collector pin hooked up where the emitter pin should go, and the emitter hooked up where the collector should go. So I need to swap these second and third pins. I need to swap them around, but keep the first one. And I haven't done that yet. So I'm really interested in seeing how this radio will perform, because FM is making its way through, but it's a little weak. Same thing with AM. AM was originally working. I never really done anything to it. By the way, I kept the original transistor to the AM. In the schematic, this is the RF amplifier transistor, and then the rest of it just runs through the IF stages that the FM uses. They share, FM and AM share the IF stages. So that's the original transistor. But it makes sense how FM and AM is just not working up to par because some bozo hooked up the transistor wrong, holding the camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix that, and we'll see how this radio performs then. But I definitely do know it needs some calibration. Wonder how I'm gonna do that. I mean, I have a signal generator that it can generate 455 kilohertz, although this radio wants 460 kilohertz. But it doesn't, it only goes up to 1 megahertz, so I'm not able to do 10.7. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and try this out. See how it works. Yep, that was it. That was it. So I just did a test run of this radio, and it is alive like the first day it was manufactured in 1976. So, yes, there was a shorted capacitor. Yes, the electrolytics didn't have the greatest values, and they did have resistance through them. And I technically didn't need to replace the transistors, but they're replaced. And one of them was installed incorrectly. So one of the problems was my fault. I need to pop this together correctly. I had the emitter and collector swapped. Now, the wires from the battery compartment were intermittent. They had a break in them, and it eventually started getting really bad. And so I replaced those wires. And what else? I did mention, I don't know if I did mention, but the lower half of the AM band from 55 to 80 was quiet and struggling to receive stations. And then from halfway up the dial, from 80 to 140, basically 800 kilohertz to 1.4 megahertz, it started to work okay. And FM, before I swapped the collector and emitter on the transistor there, FM worked. You know, it would pick up the super powerful station, which was right underneath 98, which was 97.5, but the other stations would come in faint. And because this transistor is in the IF stage, where AM and FM share that transistor, when I fixed that transistor, oh, the radio's just perfect. It's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get on with it. It fixed both FM and AM. So I've had this case apart so many times it doesn't pop together nicely anymore. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and set the camera down real quick. I'm going to extend the antenna. Alright. So let's start with FM. And yep, now it's on FM. This is the best y'all have ever heard this radio perform. Beautiful static. Turn it down a little bit. We're at the beginning of the dial, around 87.5. That's that loud country station.
This is Diego. Hi. Now you're giving back with 1.5. Leave number smart.
It gets less smooth to turn in this area. I think it's just rubbing, picking something, and that's probably above 108. But yeah, FM works beautiful now. It works absolutely beautiful. AM, there's some interference in the area, but I'll show you. It is working. Not a lot of stations, but now it's starting to pick up interference. What the hell is that?
Oh, Monty, we'll be back.
picking up a lot of interference. Wow. Pretty loud. But yeah, this radio has a new lease at life now. Shorted capacitor, some aging electrolytics, and some bozo who installed the transistor in incorrectly, who's holding the camera. Fix that up, and now this radio is working like a dream. I don't think I have to tune any of the coils. I mean, it's working. Maybe I can like slightly turn them to get the highest peak on something. That's about it. I'm not gonna go twisty turny, lefty loosey. No. Just slight touches, maybe, and get the best of the performance out of the IF stages. Barely touch them, or maybe not touch them at all, because you guys see this radio is working good. Thanks for watching. That concludes this radio, and I'll have some more uploads. I have plenty of other projects. I know my YouTube channel has been pretty dead, but now I got me my own house now, and now I have me a bunch of electronic equipment. So I like to repair vintage electronics, and that's what this channel is going to feature a lot of. Thanks for watching.